You're now listening to the Zod and Drea podcast.
Hey,
What's going on?
we're back at the Zod and Drea podcast.
So yeah, guys, it's been a week, right? I mean, a lot's gone on.
Yeah, so of course we've had a busy week. I'm sure you have too, but we've been checking out some things on the news, such as the massacre that happened over in Las Vegas that happened, 24 hours ago. So we have been focusing a little bit on that, as well as checking that out in the news, and, it's pretty much how we came up with the topic for today.
Right. It's heavy on our minds, and I mean, it's just weird. We were talking about how close Las Vegas is to Phoenix, and how we know so many people that just go for weekend trips to Vegas, right?
In fact, I mean, what was crazy is I didn't think anybody was over there until I started getting a couple text messages and messages on Facebook that they were there.
Yeah, that check-in thing, right?
Yeah, but not even checking. People just like, oh yeah, we were. I didn't know that they were even vacationing over there. And some of the people, I mean, thank God they had left. At least some of them had left before the craziness happened. But while the craziness happened, another family that I do know and really care about, who came in and drove down from Sacramento, they were in the Paris Hotel, and then somebody had announced that the Paris Hotel had a shooter, so she was almost crushed and trampled. I mean, a Good Samaritan threw her into an elevator with him and protected her, and she was just surrounded by all these big burly guys, but she's small. She's got to be like 5'2" or something like that, and she got like a busted lip, and just off of the chaos that happened. It was crazy, and thank God, Stephanie and the whole family and Ludi, they're safe, but there are a lot of people who died.
Yeah, and this is just nuts. So we'll talk about about how this is impacting and what our thoughts are about it.
But of course, moving on, we are also going to be talking about the donating together in the relationship section for Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what we did joining the March for Black Women, which was also both this Saturday. So we'll be discussing that and, just what goes on into not just both of those events, but as a couple, what you do.
Correct. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the life and times of Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, so we're going to remember the Playboy for what he was and some of the things that he had done beyond just magazines. There's some people who love him, some people who hate him. And
some people are happy that he is no longer around.
Some people are literally celebrating his death, which is really wild considering so many others got so much joy for what he did. So it's almost like a split nation in that way.
And how many babies were born because of him?
Yeah, probably. Or how many babies were wasted because of him?
Ew.
Yeah, So anyway, let's get into this. We're going to talk about the donating together for Puerto Rico and also the Black Women's March. So let's talk about Puerto Rico first.
First, want to give major shouts out to Arriba PR and to Zulema Rodriguez and Jessica and Sharanda for doing it's a coalition of a bunch of people. I know I haven't gotten everybody's names down, but again, under the umbrella of Arriba PR, which was just really a true grassroots efforts of people here in Phoenix that were very concerned about their family in Puerto Rico. Either the immediate family or second tier family, no matter what, they were really concerned about what's going on to it was happening in the island. So they just, in less than actually a week, right, they all got together, used resources that they had locally and on a global scale to get donations to various restaurants and various small businesses throughout Phoenix and Maricopa County. And then from there, because they had so many donations, they were able to work with a national organization that works with UNICEF and other groups to coordinate efforts to get trucks and to actually get transportation out then to the docks and to fly out some of the supplies that they collected. So they collected in a warehouse on Saturday any kind of non-perishable supply you can think of, right? I mean, it was...
Yeah, they had everything over there from canned foods to diapers for children. Yeah, you brought over adult diapers and... there were people who had boxes of cereal, things that were just not going to be, perishable that quickly. They had, and what got me was the fact that they had everything so well organized. In the donated space that they had, which was a warehouse, I mean, it was really, props to them for even doing that. In a span of probably like a day or so, they had everything organized to where people were just boxing, counting, packing everything up, ready for the shipment, for when the shipment comes, singing songs, just to become I guess, more motivated for what they were doing.
And every media outlet here in Arizona was out there to film what was going on, to get their stories, and to get their pleas for their family members to communicate and let them know that, hey, help is coming on the way. And also props to Representative Grijalva and Gallegos for showing up, taking pictures, and listening to the people there that are and then pushing for support for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a really great effort, and it was good, as a couple to go ahead and, be able to give our time and, some items, and give, our opinions also on some of the things that are going on over in Puerto Rico. I mean, when you're from the East Coast, I can't speak about it for out here really, but on the East Coast, especially New York, Jersey, like, Puerto Ricans, and a lot of them. So it was good to see that. But moving on, we were also able to, after doing the donations, we went over to the March for Black Women, which was a national event that went on. And this one was helped organized by Chanel Poe to organize black women, not just to organize for black women, but also to educate others on black women. And we're not just talking about black women in general, but also the trans black woman, gay black woman, the black woman, the single mother black woman. Like, any black woman that you can think of was the one that was represented in this march. And it's something in America that this marginalized group is never really recognized for their greatness, their beauty, for what they've given
their
to the
power.
Black family. And, you hear Black Girl Magic, but now you get to actually see it. So they did a short march. We had walked with them, and we documented a lot of it. So, again, go to zodandrea.com to be able to check out the videos of the interviews that we did. I mean, what was so cool is we were able to interview people from different, I guess, views in order to get a light of the event. And that's what we really wanted.
Yeah,
so,
that's the best way to describe it.
It wasn't necessarily, hey, we're just going to interview black women. We definitely wanted black women. So that's why we have, I think, 3 of them. I think the first 2 are black women. The last one is a black woman. But we had an interview also from a gun club, who I believe she was Latina. And she was a member of the gun club.
What was the name of the gun club?
John Brown Gun Club. And also State Representative Reginald Boulding also gave his take. So it was good to get that nice round group to find out what we were about, or what they were about. And, as a couple, being Zod and Drea, we ran into Ale. Yeah, Alejandra, what up?
What up, Ale?
What up, Ale? That was so cool that you spotted her. She was there. Simone Boulding was there. We had Kiana.
Jacqueline.
Kiana Sears. Alacia was there. Jacqueline. Sarah Meany, TJ. I mean, we had a whole bunch of our friends that were there regardless. Michael. There were a lot of people that were there. So it was really good to see a bunch of people impacted that way.
Now we're going to talk about the life and times of Hugh Hefner. So Hugh Hefner passed away September 30th. I hope I got that right. And, he died at the age of 91. The guy lived a life, right? Like, he lived his life the way he wanted to. What do you think?
No, actually, I think he died the 28th.
Was it the 28th?
Yeah, he didn't die that.
Man.
Where did you get your information?
Well, I'm looking at the New York Times. Yeah, so much for my references.
I mean,
but he did die at the age of 91, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Lucy got that right.
All right, go ahead.
So, again, you've got people that, on both sides, that, one, were really saddened to see him go away because of what...
Many sides.
Oh, my God, that's, like, part of my brain. I need to, spit that out. No, it needs to be removed. Where he just was this avant-garde developer of publication, and really brought in and ushered a new way for people to express themselves sexually, right? Through Playboy. And then you have another side that dreads the fact that he even created Playboy and created this whole empire of pornography, really, that became modern, that became part of the American society, right? So what I'm reading about during his, after his passing, what I was really surprised to find out was how much of a supporter he was for civil rights. At the time, it was in the late 50s and early 60s, right?
Man, you're killing me.
Yeah.
All right, so, the thing about Hugh is a lot of people didn't realize that he was more than just magazines and all this other stuff. What he had done was he had given a lot of breaks to black people and he had also was a supporter of homosexuality, like homosexuals. Like he didn't ostracize them that way. He didn't. So when it came to civil rights with Hugh Hefner, he was almost seeing a lot further into the future than a lot of white contemporaries, so-called contemporaries, were at the time. So some were, cool, but Hugh was doing things that, like, a lot of his regardless of what his publications readers were, he still allowed. So, like, one of the best things I like to hear about is how Dick Gregory was, like, his big shot was given at a Playboy club, or at least something that Hugh Hefner in Chicago.
Well, the Chicago club, right?
Yeah, so Hugh Hefner, I mean, as you know, if you don't know, Dick Gregory, he passed away, I think, like a couple weeks ago. I mean, not too long ago, but and he was a civil rights, he was a comedian, but also a civil rights activist. But it was Hugh Hefner who gave him his chance when nobody else would. So, I mean, you think about that this guy was like, nah, I think you're funny. This dude also, like, hosted parties with Sammy Davis Jr. I forgot about the woman that he had. He had a black woman on the cover of Playboy, actually inside of Playboy. I think it was in, like, 68 or somewhere right there. But what was so crazy about it was it wasn't popular at the time. But he still had this naked black woman that he saw as beautiful in the cover of his pages. If you really think about that, like, that is wild. And also, then this was in 1965. I'm sorry, this was in 1965. The March of 1965 had Jennifer Jackson. That's who it was. So she was the first black playmate. 65. Think about that. And it wasn't until Tyra Banks in 1996 was the first black woman to be put onto the cover of the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated. In 1996, Tyra Banks was the first black woman. Playboy had a woman, Naomi Sims, on, I think, in 1969 or 68. Like, think of, like, on the cover of his magazine. Like, this is a guy whose first magazine had Marilyn Monroe on it.
Right.
And here he is, like, putting a black one when it was so unpopular. The same year, Martin Luther King died.
Well, and you got to look at, too, on the opposite end of that. Like he was a pornographer, right? And many people would describe him as chauvinistic, who got rich off of masturbation and consumerism and pretty much the exploitation of women, right? He's pretty much built his empire on that. So you've got to look at, too, on the other end of it, that yes, he was able to open up so many opportunities for others, but yet did he also hurt and also created this pornography type of consumption then within America?
I mean, and I don't see it that way. Maybe it's because I'm a guy, but I also saw a lot of his stuff as art in a way. That's all it was to me. But maybe it's because I'm a guy. A lot of women were not happy about it.
Please listen carefully.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Zod.
And I'm Drea.
And we want you to check out the Zod and Drea podcast every Tuesday.
Where can everybody find us at?
You can always check us out on www.zodanddrea.com.
Where else?
You can always check us out also on Facebook at Zod and Drea.
Instagram?
Zod and Drea.
Snapchat?
Zod and Drea.
YouTube?
Zod and Drea.
I see a pattern.
So if you haven't caught that, catch us at Zod and Drea on all the social networks. But also, make sure you subscribe to the Zod and Drea podcast. Where?
At zodanddrea.com.
And also on YouTube and iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. We're coming for you.
Let us know what you think. And if you want to be a guest, reach out to us.
And put all of your input into whatever our topics are for the week. So we hope to check you out and see you there.
Bye.
All right, people.
So let's get down to our main topic for today.
All right. So, we are going to be discussing mass shootings and the gun, why America is silent. Now, this came about obviously because of the events that happened. I guess by the time people listen to this, it's going to be 2 days, but it's the Las Vegas massacre where a man had pretty much shot up a festival. It was a country festival where people were just relaxing, listening to music, having a good old time. The things that everybody usually does in life when they're, in Las Vegas. Until a crazed white man, Stephen Paddock, who was in the
retiree,
60-something years old, whatever he was, and just a multimillionaire from what they
Self-made
said.
millionaire, yeah.
This guy's a multimillionaire who went to the Mandalay Bay on the 32nd floor, busted out the windows, saw the party going on down there across the street. This was a distance. I mean, anybody who's been to Las Vegas, I used to live in Las Vegas, so I know the distance very, very well. But you and I have traveled there many times.
Many times.
You have been there many times before me. So we know the area. This guy just shot at a crowd, fish in a barrel, broke out the windows and shot innocent people who were just partying.
Camped out in the hotel room for at least 4 days, right?
4 days, yeah.
And had how many ammunition? How many
guy,
guns?
The police recovered 23 guns from his Las Vegas room and another 19 guns from his home in Mesquite, Nevada.
How do you have that many weapons brought into a hotel room?
And these were like we're talking about high-powered rifles, in automatics. Like, these were automatics. This guy was trying to do as much damage as possible.
Ain't no little, 007 cutesy handgun.
He didn't have that shit, in his breast pocket, for handiness. No. And he wound up murdering, all these people having fun, just killing 59 people.
Did nothing to him.
Nothing. Injured another 527.
Mm-hmm. And counting.
And counting. People coming in, we're going to see what's going to happen when people, start dying more from their injuries. Some could be later, some could be sooner.
Because your friend Ludi, she was at a hotel a few miles away.
Yeah, she was at a hotel.
And she was hurt.
And she was injured because of the chaos that happened down there, because of the panic that happened. It reverberates, people. It reverberates. And this is not the first mass shooting. We've gone through this before. You can check out everybody's feed. Go and check out Obama's feeds. His presidential feeds. Look at his videos back then. I mean, it got to a point where he said, thoughts and prayers are not enough. They're not. Everybody, thoughts and prayers with Las Vegas. Thoughts and prayers with San Bernardino. Thoughts and prayers for Orlando. Thoughts and prayers for Sandy Hook. Thoughts and prayers. Okay, guess what? Every time you do a thoughts and prayer, guess what happens? Somebody else doesn't listen, picks up their guns. They're like, they're not going to stop me, and I'm going to shoot everybody. This has never stopped. It's never stopped. And the one reason why we're wondering, which is mass shootings and the gun, and why America is silent, is why Congress is so silent about doing anything about this.
And why is it then that even after Sandy Hook, after children were massacred, why didn't that reverberate in something into Congress to say, what, this isn't right? We need to do something about these gun laws, because you should not just walk into a school and kill children. But yet nothing happened.
Little kids. Now, when little kids wind up being the ones that are the victims at the the opposite end of bullets, 27 dead. Those are including a couple teachers. Little kids, 5 and 6 year olds. This guy killed 5. How can you stay silent and be like, you know what? That NRA lobby is really strong, and they really have a point about the Second Amendment. So, sorry kids, they weren't my kids. So, too bad for you. Nothing done. Since then, I mean, who knows what we've had. Orlando, 49 dead. Fort Hood, 13 dead. San Bernardino, 14 dead. How many more people are going to have to die? It's ridiculous. And then let's go over this. Real quick, let's go over the Constitution, because people who are backers of gun laws always go back to the Second Amendment.
Correct.
What's
the Second Amendment? Tell me about it.
Not that there's anything wrong with the Second Amendment, but it's vague. It's literally one sentence. And this is why people are dying. So it says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, that's what people always say, bear arms. Arms is capitalized. The right to bear arms. Now, you and I are both very left-leaning, liberal, pinko communists. That's what they. Yeah, that's what they like to call us.
I haven't been called that to my face in a long time.
Libtards. That's what we are.
Shout out to my dad. He would always call me pinko commie.
And we are gun believers. We're gun right. We believe that people have the right to own guns. It is in the Constitution, not a problem.
Every person. That's the thing too. Every color.
Every being shouldn't be regulated to one group. And seeing that people are taking this almost for granted, and they're using it and twisting it. Now, I do understand some arguments. For me, it's I understand people having a gun when you're at home to protect your family. People break in. People will break in, and I'm sorry, but if you break in, and if you break into my house, you are now a threat to my family,
and you're gonna have to go,
and you got to get shot. You are now, like, there are certain things I'm going to protect, okay, with my life, and that is one of them. My family, my girlfriend, like, it's not going to, it's not a left or right. It's not, oh, I'm sorry, bro. No, bang, bang, bang. You know, I don't want to kill you. I'll try to aim for your legs, but dude, I can't help it if I hit your stomach. So this is going to be an issue when people say, no, you know what, you should be carrying anything you want because of the Second Amendment, which says a well-regulated militia. So let that be the military. And what they say is being necessary to the security of a free state. So to be necessary to the security, in order to remain free, the United States to remain free, then we have the right for the people to keep and bear arms. It shall not be infringed. Now, some people take it to where that means that we should be just as well regulated as the military. Now, I don't know. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and I don't know what powdered wig men thought of back in the 1700s, but I know that if they saw the future today, where it's like, hey, guess what? You remember that document that you guys wrote? Look at this. Look at all these little kids that died because of it. Because you guys were so vague on it. Look at this. I want you to stand on all these bodies and look at this. Look at this in the future. Oh, look at this. These people have nuclear weapons now.
Yeah.
Oh,
look at what these weapons have evolved from.
You know,
from your musket
from your
to
little
now.
Muskets and your little cannons. You know, this is now way more deadly. And I feel that we need to look at the Second Amendment. We don't need to remove people's guns.
Because you don't do that to me.
No, don't remove them. People have them. But you cannot say that everybody should be availed that gun. I don't care what kind of right they have. If they have a mental, and so you're trying to say as a right, if Charlie Manson was not arrested, he should be able to have a gun, even though he didn't kill anyone. But a person like that should have a gun to protect himself from who?
Right. Like, why should I have a silencer? There's no reason for me to have a silencer.
Let's talk about the silencer issue.
Right. Like, why should I be able to get a semi-automatic weapon? There shouldn't. What would I need that for? Who am I shooting down?
But
like, that makes no sense to me.
I mean, one of the issues that they're bringing up now is that the Republican-controlled House, as you know, who is always silent on these gun issues except for thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Many, many sides. So they schedule a vote on what's called the Sportsman Heritage and Recreational Enhancement Share. They call it Share, but I bet someone came
I
up
love
with
the nice title.
Yeah, someone's like, I like the name Share. What's it going to mean? It's going to mean Sportsman Heritage and Recreational Enhancement. I love heritage. You know who that means. But anyway, ACT. So it's a wide-ranging bill that includes a silencer provision. Now, the thing is about the silencers with the NRA supporters, who obviously, the NRA has said nothing about Las Vegas, and they never do. But I want you to talk about that in a second. But the NRA and other supporters say rolling back the 80-year-old's restrictions on silencer would be, get this, an important safety-oriented aspect of the bill that will help protect the hearing of America's hunters. These guys are still friggin' clueless that if this guy was up on the 32nd floor shooting at people with a silencer, how many more people instead of 59 would be dead?
And think about it, the responders. There's no way people would have been able to respond the way that they would to help those people if it was a silencer involved. There's just no way. No way.
So tell me about the NRA. Do you have that up?
Yeah, I have that up. And this was from the LA Times right after the Orlando shooting in 2016. They reported that the National Rifle Association and its allies have their post-shooting routine down cold. They wait a day or two and then respond with a blistering array of attacks against gun safety advocates calling for reform, no matter what the circumstances are. Does this not sound familiar?
So we are now at a time where people are at a crossroads. Right now, at this day, because people have to wonder what they are going to be doing next. You can call your congressman, you can do what you want, but people are going to wind up forgetting, and the NRA is hoping they do. Same with people like Dana Loesch and fucking Joe Walsh, some of these clowns who sit there and prop up the Second Amendment as if this is what maintains their life, and it isn't. They're not hunters. They don't do anything, but they just want to collect guns just for the sake of collecting guns without realizing that a person who I think it was in 2001, I don't know if you guys remember Richard Reid, the bootleg-ass terrorist who tried to blow up a jetliner with his shoe bomb. He was the shoe bomber.
This guy is the reason why I got to take off my shoes every time I go on the plane.
Every time you go on a plane, you have to take off your shoes at TSA. It took one man with a shoe who got no kills. This guy has no kills under his belt. But everybody still to this day, how many years later, like 16 years later, still has to take off their shoes. And there's not one person who would complain about that. Like who's saying, oh, well, the safety of the safety of the people is what's important. But meanwhile, we have people who are killed. I think it's about 12,000. I think it's 12,000 people a year who are killed in gun homicides. On average. That's on average. 12,000 a year. 62% of firearm deaths in this country are suicides. So people have access to these so easily. On an average day, 93 Americans are killed. 93 people a day are killed, except for things like this. But on average, that's what it is. Now, if you really think about those numbers, all these people that have died, 12,000 per year. One person with a shoe bomb that did not go off, did not blow up the jetliner, and we pass no problem.
Right.
Congress was like, no issues. We got that. One undocumented immigrant kills a woman. We got Kate's Law in 10 minutes. 12,000 gun homicides a year and multiple deaths caused by crazed gunmen, terrorists, whoever, and not one wants to deal with the Second Amendment or gun control.
If this was a disease, think about it. If all of these deaths were caused by a disease, you would have this pandemic going on. You would have the healthcare organizations and the government cracking down on trying to suppress this and get rid of this virus that's affecting people.
But they're not doing that.
No.
On average, they say black men are 14 times more likely than non-Hispanic white men to be shot and killed with guns. So for me, this is a big issue. But they don't care about us. It has to happen to them. And when I say it has to happen to them, listen to what was this guy's name?
Was that the musician?
Josh Abbott. He was performing over there in Las Vegas. He's a country singer. And this guy actually stated how he was wrong about the Second Amendment. And I don't think he necessarily meant wrong, but I think it was about gun control. He says, I have been a proponent of the Second Amendment my entire life. Until the events of last night, I cannot express how wrong I was. We actually have band members of our crew with concealed license and illegal firearms on the bus. They were useless. So this comes back to the good guy with a gun. The good guy with a gun.
He's the good guy.
Oh, the good guy.
He'd go in to save the day.
He will save the day faster than Batman. Guess what? This guy was in a room shooting people, fish in a barrel. Guess where Batman was? Woo! He was down there looking at the show getting shot. So while all these people are trying to say, gun laws are useless, guess what is useless? Sitting on our hands and doing absolutely nothing about it. Where has that gotten you? Next time it's going to be your kid, and you better not fucking complain about it when it is. When it's your kid shot in the ground because somebody had an illegal, arms or just had a gun that, they were able to access, then forget it.
Think about this. In 2017, there have now been 244 mass shootings. The Gun Violence Archive defines a mass shooting as this: as any incident in which four or more shot and killed in a single event at the same general time and location, and that does not include the shooter. 244 so far in this year. That's almost one a day.
All these people dying, and Congress doesn't care because the NRA has them by the balls. They have them by the nuts because that's going to deal with their voters. It's their voting bloc, and it's not going to happen. They're not going to see any gun laws, just something smart. I mean, there's nothing wrong with regulating guns, at least harshly, if not as harsh, but as people regulate cars or getting a driver's license.
And shame on you, Representative Steve Scalise, who survived his own shooting, right? Someone shot him, and he's still messaging thoughts and prayers. No change to the law.
I mean, no change to the law. It's like, we're going to continue this for another 20 seconds or so, but I just want people to really realize where your life is and what the events are that can change it. Something can change quick. There are 59 people who have family members that are dead, and the Congress doesn't give a shit about them. No. They don't care. Because they don't want to lose voters. They're not going to do anything. Your thoughts and prayers are nowhere. They're nowhere.
Keep this up, you won't have voters.
You won't have shit. You won't have a life. So we got to do something about that. We got to speak up about it. Do not be silent. Silence will just lead to another massacre. And trust me, there's going to be another one coming soon.
Again, we're not saying don't bear arms. You have a right to that. Every citizen does. It's just, let's just be realistic about what that is.
That's it. All right, check us out, ZodAndrea.com, at ZodAndrea everywhere, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. We're going to see you online.
And let us know if you want to contribute any donations for the Puerto Rican Relief Fund, too.
Absolutely, people. Talk later.
Bye.